improv in the kitchen this year. Mimi and I are going to be movie stars. What can we say? We're going to cook in the kitchen so you feel like you're here. And we'll be available on virtual video, thanks to my husband Ken, on the same place you find our summer recipes on Summer in a Jar. And when you come in the barn, Kristen has pre-printed a little card so you can find us virtually. Scan it into your phone. So we're going to divide each week's little video into a couple sections so you veterans can go straight to recipes. But Mimi, you want to tell about what we're going to do first?
Yeah. So anyway, first of all, Terry and I are neighbors, so that's why we can be very close together.
Yes, we're part of our tight circle.
We're in a very, very tight circle. So first tub, cold water. You put in a sprinkling of salt, and you fill your tub up. Second tub is just being filled with cold water, and that's going to be your rinse.
Well, Mimi and I make a habit of starting with the most delicate leaves, and the radish tops are gorgeous.
And very edible.
And so edible. And we're going to teach you how to make what we call Mimi minces. But we do have a habit of twisting them off their roots, because this is going to be a separate vegetable and have different creative options as opposed to this. Or they may all go together, but we're going to rinse them separately. And we're going to swish that salt around. And for those of you who are wondering, why are you adding salt? We have really healthy soil. And organisms know that, and sometimes they like to migrate from the field into the kitchen, and so rather than finding them on your lettuce plate, the salt forces them to let go. So you can get rid of them quickly. So
all those little critters.
All those little critters. Not so many this time of year, but later on you might find a few. So it'll knock them off the leaves quickly. So we give it a swish like this. It's not very long, just use your hands. Kenny, you want to show them with the camera? So we're just going to give it a swish like that. And we start with the most delicate, least dirty things in the beginning so we don't waste water. And then we take it and we put it in the fresh, like so. And it's helpful if you keep the leaves sorted, right, Mimi?
Yep. Okay, so we have arugula, and then we also have an Asian mix. So they're very delicate, and they're making my mouth water because they're the first of the year. So I did sneak out a little bite of a leaf. And this is going to happen to do the same thing, but look how beautiful. And this literally, I could eat in a day. So anyway, dump it in there. And the same old thing, we're going to swish. You do not need to switch your water every time. So it winds up being very efficient with your water. I can't help it.
So what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead, now that this is rinsed off, the radish greens are rinsed, they're going to go in a salad spinner, and we're going to take those straight over to the work table. One of the things Mimi and I have learned over the years is when you collect your basket of vegetables and you go home, try to work it so that within the first few hours, at least the first half of that day, you can get everything washed and cleaned in Triage. That's what we're doing right now. So each week we're going to take those new members through this process. It may feel a little redundant, but we'll start exploring new vegetables, and as vegetables mature in the field, they become a different item to us. Now at home I have one salad spinner. So I'll take it like this, and this is the fun part. I know a lot of you have used tea towels and you've wrapped up your salad and then you store it in a plastic bag. Mimi and I have been doing research over the years. Refrigerators, I don't care how sophisticated they are giant dehydration boxes. And so your goal is to protect your delicate greens from that process. So what we're going to do is we're going to store the greens, and we're preparing this stuff for Kristen and David. We're going to store them in an airtight bucket in layers with tea towels in between each layer so that when you're cooking through the week, you can just pick out a tea towel or two depending on which product you want. And it's all here, and it's dry, it's crisp, it's ready to go. It makes the best salads, best braises and stir fries, but most importantly, it keeps your greens, which are incredibly delicate, from turning into mush. Paper towels are okay. We think tea towels are better. So I usually pick a little bit heavier towel on the bottom to start. So you cut up old bath towels, that's our old hand towels, this is perfect for that. So
Old flannel sheets.
some of them are just templates, just methods that we've developed over the years that help you make the most of everything in your bucket so nothing
goes to waste.
That's our mantra.
That is our mantra.
So here we go. So those are now those radish greens. Now in a week or so, they may not be so lovely. You know, as time goes on, the radishes, they'll get bigger, but maybe the tops won't be quite as succulent. So now here are the radish greens, and then we're just going to take a tea towel and lay it over it like this for the next layer. And this goes in here like that. And I am going to be tempted to break this layer up a little bit, so I'm going to fold it in. If anybody asks Terry what her favorite spring vegetable is, it's Mizuna. I love this stuff. Best salad making.
So look how gorgeous. I'll pick just this morning.
And I have a suggestion. If you can find salad spinners that separate like this, they're harder to come by, but they're much easier to do.
Oh, totally. Things get stuck between here and then you're stuck.
If I was really being scanty with my towels, I would probably just put something else on top of that, but I want to pick them up by layers, by species of plant, so we're going to do that. And I think I might just take part of it like that. So now we've got the Asian greens in their own little patch. And I know you're thinking, what am I going to do with all these greens if you're brand new to this process, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to get so, you're going to think, I need more.
It's just stunning lettuce. It's literally one of the favorites down at the farm. It's not just beautiful, but it'll come in different colors too. And the best way really to, with all your lettuces, instead of trying to twist it or to try to cut it, just pull it all off. Pull it off that little stem that's in there. And as you do it, you will see how Mother Nature gets in there.
Thanks to all the rain we had.
Thanks to all the rain we've had. So you can just pull it all apart. And then you just down to your core and you're done.
So here is the salnova. It's like a lovely little spoon. Sometimes you can use these. You can do plate your lettuce, and you might have pickled vegetables, and you might have fresh cut up vegetables, and you might have a dipping dressing, and these make nice little spoons. So if you're looking for fun ways to celebrate different varieties.
Tuna fish,
Oh yeah.
chicken salad.
So there we go. That's all the greens. That's more than you're going to find in a box. And there it is. And I like to put a towel on top, and then it gets a snap lock lid on it. And honestly, truly, this isn't the right lid. If you go to cash and carry, this is a perfect size. It'll fit in most refrigerators, and there's a lid that fits right on it. The goal is to have an airtight seal. So we've got all the lettuces washed. Now we're going to tackle the kale. And kale comes in all kinds of varieties and sizes and shapes. Mimi's got collards. Oh, these are her favorite. The manna vegetable there. Let's see, what are the things we do with, these are the young spring ones, so these are kind of special.
They are special. Boy, again, for sauteing, they're great for stuffing. Just steam them lightly and stuff them with some rice or, whatever you get. Any leftover in the refrigerator. Do a chiffonade, which is like a ribbon cut.
And we're going to show you that in a minute. There is a recipe up on the site that we demonstrate at least once a summer. We call it farm fry rice.
Yes.
And it's a good one to save toward the end of your cooking week because you can use bits and pieces of lots of things. Which brings me to the website where we stash all these recipes. We'll have 7 years worth of recipes on there. And there are categories over, if you get on the CSA page of Summer in a Jar, on the right-hand side, there are categories. One of them is called Bits and Pieces. And that really is the essence of how Mimi and I cook. We talk about it as farm cooking. Nothing goes to waste. If we know that we've got something in our life in the kitchen that's on the edge and needs to be used up, we pull it out and make sure it gets used that day. And to that end, Ken, can you show them the book that we are going to be reading this summer? Liz and I were talking earlier this season, and she and I both love, Liz is our farm manager, so you'll get to know her. She's amazing. Both of us love this book. It's called An Everlasting Meal by Tamar Adler. It's called Cooking with Economy and Grace, and I can't think of a more succinct way that we want to encourage people to think about their kitchen. It starts with how to boil water, and you might be insulted by that simplicity, but I encourage you to press on. It's great stuff. She is a very, very proficient cook, and she's creative, and also her prose is amazing. Read chapter 1. Get the book. If the library doesn't have it, find a copy. There it is. It's posted. I bet Liz has got it posted on Jubilee, and if not, go to the Summer in a Jar site, which is essentially an annex of Jubilee. It's where we stash our recipes. And Ken has that posted on our site. You can find it maybe at Powell's or somewhere. And read it with your family this year.
I think one of the simple one for me, even in chapter 1, was how to boil water. I took it for granted, but you taste your water as you go, which sounds really bizarre. But once you do it, you're going to find that, oh yeah, it works.
It tastes different at different temperatures.
Yes, it tastes different at different temperatures. Obviously, how much salt you have, what kind of water you have at home.
Yeah, and one of the obvious ones, and I love, she says, don't salt your water until after it's come to a full boil. All of us who've taken chemistry know why. That's not necessary. Just remember a full rolling boiler, which is 212 degrees at anything below 1,000 feet. And then add your salt. Otherwise, it'll be too low of a temperature. So we're going to go back over here, and we're going to talk about how to ribbon cut certain greens that are going to come to you.
We could both do it at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Not everything has its stem taken out. Chard, we might take the stem out, or beet greens, we might take the stem out, but we save it.
Yes.
And we'll chop it up and set it aside, because when we saute an onion, then that's going to go back in there and cook with it. But the leaves get cut. Now I think Kristen wants to use these like wraps.
Okay.
So since that's what she's going to do, I'm just going to take the tough part of the stem out like this, give it a pull, and then we'll just, after she steams it for about 5 minutes, then she can stuff it with leftover rice and meat, maybe some hamburger and veggies that need to be used up in the fridge, other things that you want to saute together. And then the kids can treat it like a burrito. They can put it in there, and then you fill it, and you wrap it up like that. Now you've got this green burrito that you can slice into sections and serve the kids, and then we've got dipping sauces sprinkled throughout the website. So we'll talk about those in more specifics later on. And then Mimi can show you how to take care of kale.
Can I show her my method, or would you
show your method.
Terry and I have a little different. She likes to cut, I like to pull. It sometimes works easier than others. I was very lucky on that one. So whoopsie. Whoa, done. Sometimes they rip really badly, but mostly they do pretty good. But it's easy to just, if you go start it like that, and then just take your one, and there's one that broke.
Mimi and I don't know what we're going to do with it. We'll still stem it and chiffonade. That's a ribbon cut. Let's take a little bit and show them what we're talking about.
Okay.
So
and I'm a lefty, so it's going to look a little backwards. When I do it, it'll look a little more normal when Terry does it.
No, I'm a righty, you're a lefty. Okay, so you roll it up, lump it up like a burrito. And then when you're cutting, I'm not a chef, you can tell, but make a bear claw so you don't cut your tips of your fingers off. And don't pull back, push forward when you chop, like so. So you can use your fingers as a gauge. And that's a ribbon cut or a chiffonade. Now, it's not necessary to chiffonade this for the recipe we're going to make today. You can just take the stems off and leave it whole. But I tell you what, mouthfeel makes a big difference to people who are acquiring new tastes, to flavors and to textures for vegetables. And we will show you next week how to braise them so that pretty much anybody will eat them.
Yes.
I'm going to roll this up like a burrito. You saw me fold that up. And I'm not going to do a small chiffonade. I'm just going to do something like this so that it goes in the food processor more readily, like that. But if I was going to braise all of my greens for the week, my kales, my beet greens, my collards, you can even use limp lettuce left over from last week, as long as it's not slimy. Put that in a braise at the end. But you start with collards because they're the most robust, and you move to kale, then maybe beet greens or Swiss chard, And then
Or we have our radish greens.
our radish greens, you could put those in a braise. We're gonna use them for fresh, but
Yeah.
there's lots of possibilities.
And your radish greens are wonderful just in a salad, so you don't even have to do anything to them
Right.
when they're this new and young. So here we've got our mix now.
And this is green garlic. Yummy, yummy, yummy. So I think we'll probably use some in a mince.
Yeah,
Will you make a mini mince?
Well, and again, of course, it can go into any kind of saute or braise.
So don't let
Don't
any
be
of this
shy.
go to waste. You can trim off
The
the
greens
parts.
are good too.
If you're making soup or you're
Oh.
a stock maker,
Oh, yes.
don't lose this stuff. This is heaven for the green sauce.
Got it.
Okay? And I'll clean it up for Kristen. I'm just gonna leave it like that. And I think what we'll do is we'll cut it off so it's easier for her to store in the fridge. And then these are stock making things, or your compost, whatever you want. But I would save it for stock. And then you can take these and clean them like a leek. So it's very similar, same family. And you never know that there might not be some grit in between, right? That's all edible. So it's really delicate. So I'm going to take it over to the sink and run some cold water through the leaves like this, just in case there's a little sandy grit in there. And that way, Kristen can mince these up and saute them in a meal, and it'll act like a really delicate garlic flavor. It's our green garlic that's coming out of the field right now. For people who, it depends on the size of box you're going to have this week. You'll either be able to choose, I think it's one summer squash or one artichoke. Kelsey just harvested a lot so we could show you what to do with them. When they're this tender, I just take the tops off and we do a quick olive oil, garlic saute. You could even eat them raw in a salad, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
prefer a little bit of
Either
little
way.
warm bloom to them.
Totally, totally.
You put a mince in those, right? And a little canoe, a little boat?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
So one of the things you can do, take the nibbins off. Thank you, Ken. See, this is really a group of three here. You can take a grapefruit spoon. I use these for popping the tops off of strawberries. The big zucchini, as they get bigger in the summer, you can take all the pith out of them because you don't want to eat that. Now, when they're young like this, it's glorious. But what Ken is suggesting is you can take this little bit of center out. This is what we'll put the mince in.
Oh, yeah.
See, so this is part of the fun when you cook with Mimi and Terry. We just sort of go,
We make up a lot of things as we go.
we putter along the way. So we'll just carve out a little bit, and these are called zucchini boats in our household. And we usually don't make these until tomato season. But one of the things we want to do, I think is put
We
some
don't need to
salt on
throw this away either. That can
No.
either go into
That can
another
go in
mince or it
stuff.
can get it.
They can go in the mince.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to take a little bit of salt and just kind of sweat these like so. Doesn't all need to be on there. And then I'm just going to turn them upside down. It'll weep some of the moisture out of there. And then later on we'll come back and we'll make a mince and we'll put them
Put
in
it in
that.
there?
And then you can just put them in the fridge and then you've got really pretty pre-dinner snacking food, or if you've just got the munchies before dinner, just put it out on the table. People
Yeah.
can hoover through it.
A fun thing too that I've just learned is if you take a zucchini and you have 2 chopsticks, which of course we don't have right now, but I'll pretend that these are, and you cut off your end, and if you have your, like this, now you can do a bunch of just cuts, and it stays whole.
Oh, that's fun.
And then you can do this to the whole thing, and if you wanted to, then you could even stick some herbs or some cheese or whatever you want in between here and just bake it or barbecue it.
Yum, that's
Isn't that a
brilliant.
fun idea?
That's a great idea.
So that's just a fun little one that I've been playing with doing.
That's neat.
It's fancy.
We don't do fancy nuts.
We don't do fancy much.
Now the
Good way to get
radishes,
kids to eat it though.
the radishes are so lovely this time of the year. My temptation is to just clean them up,
Pop them in your mouth.
put them, yeah, if they make it to the table, it's a miracle. I just put them on a platter because they're so pretty and they're so fun to eat. And when they're this size,
This little, and when they're this brand new, enjoy them in their perfection.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. I mean, you of course can cut them and saute them or do whatever you want, but the first ones of the year, They're so very
They're
special.
so lovely. And you know, I mean, you could even leave some of the greens on if you want to and just serve them that way, and that's pretty. But if you're wanting the kids to just have a bag of something to snack on in the fridge,
Yep.
so I'm going to throw one suggestion out. One of our veteran members who has raised her kids on healthy vegetables taught us this years
brilliant.
ago.
Absolutely brilliant.
She has one drawer in her refrigerator, and as the kids have grown up, they always know, no matter what time of the day, no matter how close it is to a meal, if they're hungry, she points to the drawer, and they can go find radishes that are all washed and clean, carrot sticks,
Some fruit,
cucumbers,
all
some
fruit and vegetables.
It's all in there, and they can just graze on it.
They can
whenever.
go in whenever they want, there's no questions asked, and that's exactly what they do. They're not heading straight to the potato chips or the muffins or whatever, they're going straight to their drawer, and these boys, I'll tell you what, they,
They know good
they're-
vegetables.
they come in here just eating this, just handfuls, without a question. They just love it.
So, anyway, pass on that wisdom from another mom. All right, so we're gonna leave our mess for a minute, and I think we should get going on making the kale sauce. What do you think?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay.
Oh, but these are a couple of the option items, right?
Yeah,
We wanted
so, different size boxes will have an opportunity for a choice item. Sometimes no choice item, depending on the size of your box, and the numbers will vary according to size and season. So, I don't want the expectation to be that everyone gets all of this. These are, Kelsey just wanted to harvest to show people a variety of what's coming out.
what's
of the
coming
field.
out now. And as the summer goes on, the boxes get bigger.
Definitely.
And bigger.
And you'll need more and more of this kind of skill
Yeah.
to make the most of the
Yes.
wonderful vegetables from Jubilee.